Yes, Raj, to answer your question before we went off there, the Pacers are actually playing a better game. So yes, they have started to play
Yes,
better.
they are. They are.
All right, Herb and Raj
We're back.
podcast. Very.
Yes.
You always say we're back. Where did we go?
I mean, we left for about 7 days and we're back now.
Oh my gosh!
I'm not saying like we went out of the country or something like that.
And you already have a lot of comments. So, of course, Air Raid has in there. We'll save that question for us up there. What's up to the MVP?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Randy, Cat, Big Mike, Lady Alpha, Air Raid Mike, of course. How could I forget him? Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, Boomer Center. This is where we found our next guest too. So you always got to give a shout out to Air Raid. I think half our guests we just watch the show and just steal people from there. So for sure, got to roll tide. Yeah. Of course, please hit the like and subscribe. We would appreciate it.
It's kind of like us using the transfer portal, huh,
Herb? Pretty much. Pretty much. Rod, you're usually the only one who thinks they're funny though, so that's fine.
No, my kids think I'm funny too. Yeah. So I'm cool with that.
You're a little delayed there too, Raj. So I hope that's coming through. All right. Anyway, it's time to get to the guests. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right. When Coach Kelly was hired at LSU, they called her to get approval to hire him. Yeah.
Okay.
In a recent game recent game of 1-on-1, she dunked on Angel Reese.
I actually saw that on YouTube. I saw that highlight.
Okay. They had her at the combine, found out that she's faster than Daniels, has better hands than Neighbors, and a better arm than Joe Burrow. Yeah.
What?
It was great. So, yeah. Her motto when we were trying to get her on the show is, "Hey, I'm not that bad. Please welcome in one of the greatest names in all sports, Dailey Joy." How are you doing today?
Yay!
I wish all that was true, honestly. I really, really do.
Okay, now first, you're supposed to claim that at least two truths. So like two truths and a lie, and let everyone figure it out.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't think people are dumb.
You don't think people are dumb? You've not been on Twitter then. So
well, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll give Alabama people some grace. I don't think Alabama fans are dumb.
Okay.
If this was like a Texas A&M podcast, we'd have.
Oh man, shots fired, and we barely got into it.
Yeah,
I don't think we have any Texas A&M fans though. So, look, somebody already has got a better hair than Morel.
Just his recent one. He has had great hair until that last photo that just came out.
Yeah, I saw something of him today where it's kind of like fluffy now. So
yeah, I'm like, homeboy lost his girlfriend and like lost all of his sense of style. So I don't really know what's going on
there. I can understand that also. And yes, that's like one of the first things I said, JB. We caught her on Air Raid Mike's podcast, and I was like, oh, that's great. And then they were talking, so it was like, yep. And we started like we've told people we kind of want to. Last year we just started talking a whole lot of basketball, and we kind of want to keep the focus on football this year. So like you're our guinea pig. If we bring in people from other teams and see how it goes. So I do want to throw a little bit of curveball. Tell a little bit about so from where you come from first. The Message Board Geniuses podcast. I always feel like I'm going to mess up the words. Where did that kind of get started? Where did the name come from? And just tell me a little bit about that first before we get into the television.
For sure. The other three guys that I'm on the podcast with have actually all been friends for a very long time. I was actually like a backup plan. I have zero issues saying this whatsoever, but
you're crashing the party.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be those three guys and another girl. And the account Board Geniuses, we call him MBG, the guy that runs that account, he wanted to start one kind of talking about like the funniest message board post of the week, but always kind of trying to tie it back to football. And so they lost their female and kind of just like went on a hunt to find another like female voice that kind of knew what she was talking about. And somehow they settled on me. Wow. I'm still not sure if
she said settled. Come on.
Yeah, like I'm still not entirely sure I really am what they want, but they're stuck with me now. I've been there too long.
And you kind of take over at times, is that right?
Yes and no. Like sometimes I can, but I'm actually more of the like X's and O's person. Like I actually really love to talk football, and they're just a bunch of like older guys that want to goof off about the Board Geniuses post. And so I kind of like tend to level it out a little bit. I'm also the youngest one by far. And so I tend to bring a little bit of like the youthful vibe. But no, yeah, like they're all really good guys. It's a really fun time. I really enjoy being a part of it. So.
Okay.
Awesome.
And there's our Georgia Bulldogs fan who we found from the very same show. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say about LSU. So
look at how Randy puts it out though. Looking forward to hearing from this LSU fan. I'm just reading in the same type of tone of voice I know Randy's reading it in. This LSU fan, like, oh my goodness.
I've been called worse.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and Randy, and like he's gonna text me later and go, "That's not how I meant it at all." Like Randy,
I know. I'm just messing with Randy.
Yeah. So I had to start. I said we'd kind of look back at last year. So you look back. Obviously, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, 2 picks in the top 10. When you look back, because I know how I look at things, and I'm extremely negative when I look back. Do you look back at world-class offense, had a great year, or had the defense played any bit of defense, we're probably in the national championship running? Like, what is your honest thoughts on last year?
Yeah, I look back and get like physically angry at Matt House, right. And mad at Brian Kelly, because ultimately, like, that's on you, like that's your staff and that's your team, and so yeah, I can ream Matt House all day long, but it's also not fair to just judge him off that one season. The season before that, he produced a phenomenal defense. And if that defense would have come back, I think that they alienated their best asset in Harold Perkins and trying to move him to a position he wasn't comfortable with and a position he couldn't succeed at. And instead of
that, by the way, just what even started that? That just seems like
I wish I could tell you. I think that you're thinking he's a freak athlete, so putting him in any position might be able to work. But it did it. And I think I'm more frustrated. Here's the deal. If it doesn't work in the Florida State game and we realize it and we say like, okay, it's just not vibing. Like it's not going to work. Let's move him back, like to where we know he's successful. We know he can succeed in this position. And we know not only is he successful, like he will give other teams hell if you put him in a position to do so. Instead, the one thing I do not like about Brian Kelly is that he is a stubborn, bad word. And I am like, sir, like it's okay to just like say that we messed this up and to switch him. He would not do that. He was dedicated to leaving him in that position all year long. And because of it, our defense suffered. Obviously, our defense suffered and much more than just Harold Perkins. It's not a one-person team, but I celebrate Jane Daniels. I do look at it and kind of look at it as I'm very grateful for what has happened at our quarterback position at LSU, just knowing the literal quarterback like asylum that we were there for a minute. I'm super grateful for that. I'm happy for Jaden Daniels. That's absolutely comical, but anyways,
Aaron, you got 2 questions on there. We'll post them up in a minute, but
that's hysterical. But yeah, I am happy for Jane Daniels. Happy that we have it feels like we've gotten over that hump of like really struggling at the quarterback position, but then also just lividly angry that you wasted a generational talent in Jane Daniels and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. It feels unfair to them that they weren't given a shot at a game that they could have potentially won because our defense struggled so badly. So mixed emotions there for sure.
Quick question. So speaking of the LSU defense, just take us through your range of emotions that occurred during the Ole Miss game. If I recall, I think it was like 49-55. I pretty much watched the entire game going back, trying to figure out what in the world was going on, who's going to play defense, who's not going to play defense, etc. So just what was going through your mind the whole game, and how did you feel about that, and of course the outcome?
And Rod, can I say real quick, as a outside view from it, that was a great game to watch because I didn't really have
entertaining for us, entertaining
watching offense, but I can't imagine. It's like how I felt going into the LSU Alabama game. Let's imagine how you felt like kind of going in that game and watching it unfold.
I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was on vacation during that game, and if I had not had a couple drinks in my system, it would have been real bad. Thankfully, I was like just numb enough to not lose my shit in the middle of the ocean. But I think it's like kind of a weird thing. And I would say like some older LSU fans might know the younger ones, like the ones that are in college now, or like people that are just now getting like on the bandwagon, if you want to call it that. Are used to seeing these like predominant LSU offenses. And I grew up in the era of like predominant LSU defense. Like
Right.
I will never forget the 9-6 game for as long as I live.
Right.
And I love old school defense. Like I think those games are just as entertaining as like offensive shootouts. So I sometimes find myself, especially in games like that, I had the emotion of being like, who are we? Like, where did we go? Like, we used to be the team that, like, I mean, like, we can do the DBU thing and the DBU argument all we want to, but like at this point in time, like all that does is say what you've produced in the NFL, but like you don't produce quality defense anymore. And like, this is embarrassing. So I struggle because I'm like, when did the shift happen? Like, when did we stop caring about defense and just became like every other program? And then at the same time, as someone that wanted the LSU offense years ago to be able to score anything more than a freaking field goal, I'm like, holy cow, like we know how to drive down the field. So again, it's just that range of emotions. I thankfully, I think after Florida State really tempered my expectations for this season. And so I thought Ole Miss was really good and I thought Ole Miss was going to beat us. So it wasn't like this complete shock that we weren't winning, like weren't going to win that game. But I mean, you always want to win. And there was a moment there, like when it was kind of going back and forth, you're like, do we have a chance? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But
late in the game, it seemed like y'all took control for a second. I thought you guys had it. And then it was like,
they did.
The double lead off and disappears again. I was like, what just happened?
Yeah, that's literally my that's my life, like as an LSU fan, like the amount of times I thought we had y'all beat and then just in the last minute like blew it at home. Like I remember both instances when I was in college that like we went into the last minute winning and just drove down the field like we weren't on there, and I just like fetal position multiple times. So at this point now I'm just like used to it almost, like I'm numb. But you know, I don't know. When I get sad, I just think about 2019 and it makes things a little bit easier.
That was going to be one of the things I said. It's not fair, but do you ever compare like Daniels and Burrow?
Yes and no. I really struggled this year with LSU fans feeling like they had to pick between the two. I'm like, their stories are so similar. And like, why can't we just celebrate the two gifts that they were?
Right.
People really like to argue, you know, like the whole thing of like, well, Jaden Daniels doesn't have a natty, so he's not as good as Joe Burrow. And yeah, if that's the only thing you want to measure it on, then like, yes, I guess technically you're correct. But give Jaden Daniels the 2019 LSU defense, and he's going on one hell of a run, if not winning the whole thing.
There you go. There's
you're just okay, Air Raid. Look, you have come. We're just going to time out 1 second. You have more opinions and are coming in more hot in these comments than you did on your own show. So if you have heat on your own
DJ,
show,
tell them.
I'll go with you at your own show.
He's having fun.
I like this.
Like, you over here talking a lot of trash for someone that ain't played it in Death Valley on a Saturday night.
Yep. I actually got to see, unfortunately, that 19 team at home against Alabama. So that one was
a good game.
Had I not been rooting, obviously that was probably one of the best games I've been at. And I was sitting on the end zone on the side where Tua was basically Rogers' boy. Tua, by the way, was running straight towards me and just dropped the ball in the air, just let out of the stadium.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I remember that game so well. It was one. I cried when that game was over because I think it was at that moment that I was like, we're probably going to win the whole thing. There's this mental thing, and LSU fans I think would probably agree with me about the Alabama game. It's like if you can get past that game and you're undefeated up until then, like you have a really good shot of going all the way. But Alabama is such a mental thing for LSU, I think. And so I think it was at that end of that game that I was like, I think we are going to win the whole thing. Like, I think this is that team. But I remember even thinking when Tua at the beginning of the game dropped the ball, I was like, I remember going like, we're going to win this game. Like that was the moment that I was like, okay, like, no, and I like Tua. This is not the other day. In fact, I tweeted like I think it was like, if you have two or if you had to pick a player that was on your rival's team that you respected, I actually put a GIF of like Tua and Jalen Hurts because I like them both. But I just remember thinking like, this is like, we're in their head. Like, they know how good we are, and this is going to affect them. And it did. But it honestly, still a good game. Like, it's not like it wasn't
a great game, actually. Yeah.
It was a great game.
Yeah.
But I mean, 2019 LSU Alabama Bowl is ingrained in my memory forever.
Yeah. Mine for all the wrong reasons for having been there, but it was.
I know. I cried on the inside, but it is.
I cried. I don't think I cried on the outside. When Devontae Smith hit that last touchdown, all of a sudden we roared again, and we actually thought we had a chance, and then it just kind of, that was just.
I know what your favorite Jaden Daniels highlight is. I'm sure it's when that Georgia defensive player in the SEC championship literally picked him up like he was the trophy, which, Jaden Daniels held another trophy this year. So I'm sure he's just fine.
And Mike said the same thing about Bryce Young. Yeah, I think especially in a big a team sport as football, national, titles are not going to be the only thing. I tend to give, I guess, like Caitlin Clark a little bit of heat sometimes just because she didn't win one. I think you can affect it more in basketball, but at the same time, it's not the end all be all. I mean, you can have a great season.
I mean, she got Iowa as far as Iowa's going to get, though. I mean,
without a doubt.
What else?
I mean, she's still one. I mean, I have so much respect for her and what she's done.
Oh yeah, I think she's been. The fact that she's been mentioned on our show like every week, just shows you the effect that she's had. And I think
without a doubt, I have mad respect for what she's done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I don't know if it was just time. I feel like they had the ball and they kind of ran it out at the end. So I don't know that we would have gotten like 2 stops on them. I think that was kind of the problem.
If I'm being really honest with you, and like I know that I'm an LSU fan, so people are going to say like, well, you're biased. No one was beating LSU that year. I mean, like absolutely no one. Like they were not going to let anyone win. It became very clear. I mean, you look no further than the Texas game, like week 2, when it's 3rd and 17 and like every odd is stacked against you, and it's the loudest Texas has probably been, like, I don't know, since the Alamo. And they like Joe Burrow's just like, screw it. Like Jamar, what we always said, Jamar's down there somewhere. And I mean, it just, no one was beating them that year. Like it was just not going to happen.
You have to love an Alabama podcast, by the way, where there's an argument about Jalen Hurts in the comments. Don't even, he didn't play.
I'm reading this too, and I'm like, this is.
I'm cracking up laughing because when I answered that tweet and I did the GIF of the two of them, it was them on the field like hugging, and I put in like the notes and I said intentionally putting Jalen Hurts in an Alabama jersey just to make Oklahoma fans mad, because Jalen Hurts is an Alabama quarterback, and I'll go to my grave on that argument. I'm not even an Alabama girl, so that should tell you something.
Yep.
We all know that. Some people believe differently, but we all know where his heart lies.
Well, he graduated from here. He won a championship here, and he comes back for our games. I mean, if Oklahoma has any big games, I guess maybe he'll ever come back from them, but probably not.
Yeah, I mean, what's their big game? LSU, Oklahoma this year, apparently. That's Air Raid's acting like
I guess that's a good one to go back and what did Air Raid have to say to you? So,
and we got to go to Norman too.
Will Brian Kelly be sit bagging? First of all, it's absolutely like this is okay. This is what I cannot wait about Texas and Oklahoma. Like,
and before you say it, she is 100% right, because I went back and rewatched y'all's podcast today. Mike was like so nice in that one, so it's like
I'm like, where's this coming from?
Mike had a long day at work today.
I guess so. So he if he will dance like he did the recruit video.
I'm just first of all, I just think it's hilarious. Like, here's my favorite thing about Oklahoma fans, and I'll just say it.
And we'll give you a shout out.
Y'all ain't won nothing. I mean, nothing in years.
Oh my God.
And the one coach that was able to give you something said, "Skirt, I'm out." And now y'all sure talk a lot of talk for haven't won anything of relevance since Jesus was born. I mean, it is mind-boggling to me, the audacity y'all have walking up into this conference. I mean, at least Texas showed up in the playoff. And like played pretty well. Like the last time LSU played Oklahoma, I mean, we just completely, totally embarrassed you. I mean, embarrassed you. And you have to walk into Tiger Stadium, which you know is going to be a night game. Know it. You are going to experience something you've never experienced in your life. You're not going to be able to breathe because the bourbon in the air is going to be so thick. And you think that you're beating – it is mind-boggling to me. I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling and asinine. Well, here come the excuses. We always got the excuses of why you didn't win. It's like if we didn't have no. Just
Mike, you know I love you, but you totally invited this. Like
Mike.
you brought this on yourself.
He put ma'am in the comments. He put ma'am. I guess he's trying to be respectful.
He's trying to be polite, but like you already came at me. And first of all, hey, that dance recruit, whatever. He's actually like the now third string quarterback at Ole Miss, like isn't going to see the field at all. So like one of them's winning. Like one of them had a Heisman winning quarterback this year and one of them's a third string at Ole Miss. So obviously like Brian Kelly obviously knows what he's doing, whether you like it or not. We have yet to see Venables really produce anything great as a head coach. So you might just like want to slow your rocker over there.
Kat said, Kat promised, this is one of our Alabama folks, promised to be on her best behavior. So the Oklahoma guy came.
Yeah, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Yep. He said that no shot against LSU. Yeah, that was just a tough
Thank you so much for being realistic. Yeah. Like, I just am grateful that people, like some people can be realistic.
Yeah.
Very few people had a real shot in 2019 versus LSU. The same way that very few people had a real shot against 2021 Georgia. Like, we went in that SEC championship being like, there ain't no, I went to the SEC championship. I live in Atlanta. And I was like, I'm just here to have a good time.
I just hope both teams have fun.
Literally. Yeah. I was like, I know Georgia's winning this game. Like, I'm not worried about it. When we left the ball live on a special teams play, I was like, I need another drink. Like, I'm just going to
I would have been that. So, I hate to bring it back to the recap from last year, but you already mentioned kind of how the year was going. But I guess because of losses and Ole Miss still having to play Georgia, you still have a shot, I guess, at the SEC going into the Bama game. What are your feelings going into that Bama game and then coming after it? And I know we talk about the FSU. I always dismiss the FSU because it was out of conference. And the first games of the year they're always rough. You know, that's why I don't mind when the team schedules a cupcake at the beginning.
I said that several times.
Yeah. Well, just because you have no idea what your team is and what's going on, and it's just different going game speed. So,
I mean, prior to that first game, everything's been like a bunch of glorified scrimmages. So you still have to work like a lot of kinks out. The first and the second week, you're still working out some kinks out for each team. So you never know what's going to go on.
For sure. And I'm not, I guess now it's a hot take. It wasn't a hot take all season long. I still think Florida State was a great team. And if Jordan Travis doesn't get hurt, like who knows what happens. But I'm not again, wasn't mad about that loss. I agree with you. I was more mad about what happened after that loss. I was expecting more adjustments to be made and they just weren't made. Back to your question, going into the Alabama game, again, it's like such a mental thing for me. Right. And I just, if I'm being honest, like didn't have a lot of hope. I felt like y'all really were like, y'all got consistently better as the year went on, which, and this is not insulting, like this is not trying to insult Alabama in any way, shape, or form. Y'all are usually so consistently good all season long that it was like such a different Alabama team to watch this year. But I still am just like, I'm never like, it's so hard for me to go against Nick Saban. Like, I was just like, it's hard for me to do that. I can't logically think that. And just the way that our defense had played all year, I was like, sure, this isn't the most like proficient Alabama offense that has ever walked on the planet, but this is maybe like, and this, I don't even know how much of a stretch this is. Like, this might be one of the worst defenses LSU has ever fielded. And so I'm not willing, like in my mind, we need to be the best of the best in order to compete with Alabama.
Don't read the comments. Let's keep going. Keep going, Dailey. Come on.
No, read a comment all day long.
Oh, she's
again hasn't won anything of relevance since Jesus was born. So it's real easy to bring up, the COVID year and 2021. But like, I'm like, for a man that y'all really hate, Riley, y'all sure do pimp those Heismans when recruits come around. Anyways, yeah. So I just don't. I just didn't have that much confidence, and I was right to not have that much confidence. So there's that.
That was definitely one of those games. I was like, the first team to get a stop is going to win. What'd you say, Raj? Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think as far as her mentioning like that Alabama, and we usually do field a consistent football team. Like our team, and Herb and I discussed it several times about last year's team. Like I don't think we really just changed as far as momentum is concerned until maybe after the Texas A&M game. Like the second half of that Texas A&M game when Milroe just came out passing and we won the game, that's when things kind of changed for the better for Alabama. Before that, it was just so up and down. I mean, we can talk about the South Florida game. We managed to escape away from South Florida, which is embarrassing to say. But that whole season was just so up and down for us. But midway towards the end of the season, we just kind of got the ball rolling. So, yeah, I agree with you there.
But
Aaron, this is the last thing that I'm just going to say one more thing to Aaron, and then we're going to stop this. It's 2024. It's 2024. Y'all have not won a
but I don't think
national
he's going to stop.
Yeah.
Y'all, okay,
I
well,
have
I'm
never
done.
seen.
Because
I have
I'm just
never
gonna
seen this side of him though.
Like we're
ever.
nipping this, okay?
It's-
So like
it's
I'm
funny,
telling
though.
y'all, we're nipping it in the bud, okay? Y'all have not won a national championship in
When was the last year?
2000.
I thought it was. I'm thinking. Oh wow,
I
Mike.
agree,
2000.
Kat.
Wow.
2000. So again, like I said, pimping the Heismans because that's all you have to show for recruiting. Or maybe Venables is showing his Clemson national championships because he sure as hell ain't won one at Oklahoma. Like I can go all day long, but again, haven't won anything of relevance since Jesus was born, and I stand by what I said. And you just hope you better hope and pray you Sooners bring it to Baton Rouge. That's all I got to say.
I have whenever you guys are on the show again.
And she pulled out the Stanley.
I'm there.
Go ahead. What now?
Checkmate.
I said the next time that they're on the show again together, I'm there. Like it's got to happen.
Oh yeah, you got to let us know, please.
They were so civil in their first show, Raj. Like I said, I rewatched it again.
I was like
today
kind of expecting him to have some like questions in the first show, and they were, but it was all like, "Where should I eat? Like, what should we do? Like, where should we tailgate?" Like, if you wanted this energy, you should have brought it.
So you mentioned a good one there, though. Talking about the offseason, what was your reaction when Saban retired?
Do you want my honest reaction?
Yes.
I was at work. I was at work in my office, and I got I think I saw maybe Schefter. Like it was like someone random. I saw them tweet it out that he had retired. And then I was like, that can't be real. Like, this isn't real. And then I like refreshed, and I think Schefter tweeted it. And my boss says to this moment that he wishes that he had a video camera because I started like running laps in the office. I was like, Nick Saban retired. I'm like jumping up and down. I'm like screaming. Yes. Like, I'm so excited. Look, here's the deal. He did not die. Okay. Like the fact that like,
are you sure? Do you know that?
Keep in mind, he still has an office in the stadium. He's still gonna have
literally
an office in the stadium.
Like, I get the morning thing, but like, can we stop acting like he's not even gonna have like? He's got an office in the stadium. He was at the spring game. Like, it's not like the dude's missing much. It's not like you're never going to see him again. Like, he's not skedaddling off into the sunset. Like, he is still very much a part of Alabama football and will be until the day that he dies. And so the morning thing is like, not to be rude, it's a little bit over dramatic. Kat, I like you. You're from Louisiana. You get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I mean, you're from Louisiana and you're an Alabama fan. I haven't figured that one out yet, but I'm going to let it go. And so but I just think the morning thing is like a wee bit dramatic. I'm like, let's just like also like instead of doing that, why don't you just appreciate like everything he just did? Like that, like,
oh yeah,
y'all got banners, y'all got more banners and trophies. Like then, I mean, it's insane. Like just celebrate it, you know? Yeah. Hi JT, don't know you, but hello. Like
one reason why it's tough is because the next text I get are all, "Are you okay? Is everything all right?" Like I was at work. I'm like, I'm about to go.
I had coworkers. I had my boss come up to me, go, "Raj, you okay?" I'm like, yeah, I'll be fine. Like I'm good. We knew it was gonna eventually come. Not today, obviously, but it sucked. And then
people were
the
really mad. Like people were
hours.
mad at me for celebrating, and I was like, I'm sorry. Like. Y'all can hate it all. Y'all can be mad at me. They were Alabama fans, of course. They're like, be not like, we're mourning. Y'all need to chill out. And I'm like, we've never claimed a natty that was won at anyone's school. Air raid. Thank you very much.
I thought you said you were gonna ignore him from now.
Yeah, I thought you were finished with that, DJ. Come on.
Like stupid people get stupid responses. No,
yeah, but he's only commenting because you're responding. Just let it go. Let it go.
Just such. Anyways, trying to say saved over here. Yeah, no, I've lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I was talking about.
How happy
we were
you
talking
were
about Nick Saban
at
retiring.
least you didn't roll any trees though, so we're happy about that.
No, I'm not going to roll trees, but I'm also like, I even said, I was like, I appreciate what he did for the sport of college football. I'm grateful for what he did at LSU. Like, there's only one person at LSU that should be crediting Nick Saban for any natties, and it's Les Miles, who won a natty with all of his players. But yeah, I'm grateful for what he did for the sport. But also, like, there's a new era of college football coming in, and with that will be a new era of coaches. Yeah. And so I am grateful for Saban. I appreciate Saban. I respect the hell out of Saban. But I'm not sad that he's gone.
Yeah. And I don't expect that from other teams. Like, so I expect everybody to be happy. One reason, and to your point about appreciating, Raj and I we moved to Alabama in 94. So Dad was Army, we were Army brats. So we didn't have allegiance to any college. We were in Germany before we came to Alabama. So it was mostly pro sports. There wasn't even any kind of college allegiance. So we moved there in 94. The title was in 92. So people are like, oh, you saw that? No, we were late for that. We saw a lot of bad football, until Saban got there. So when he got here, it's like, and it kind of ties in one of the things that bothers us right now is all these fans that started when Saban was here. Like, no, it wasn't like this right before then.
My dad says that all the time. He's like, I remember Saban at LSU. Right. But like, obviously most of my life that I've remember Saban has been at Alabama. And my dad's like, Joy, I remember when they were horrible. Like they used to be trash.
Yeah, we were bad.
He's like, it all ebbs and flows. And, Nick Saban was 1 in a million. There will never be another Nick. Right. But also it's like the same way that everyone was like, there will never be another Bear Bryant. Like, okay, but then there was Nick. They just both happen to coach at the same schools. I'm like, can we have one of them?
Unless Coach DeBoer wins 6 national championships.
Raj, are you smoking crack?
No.
His neighbors think he's selling dope though.
Herb, that was so corny.
I've got the dad jokes with no.
It's another lame J. Cole line. I get it. I'm actually just looking to see if Air Raid Mike is going to comment anything. I kind of feel like he's just sitting at.
I'm not.
What can I type next?
I'm not looking at the comments.
So you do mention with that though. How were you happy with Coach Kelly? Obviously, you signed off on it. Were you happy with how he's come in? And then the part 2 of this question is going to be, especially with his recent comments, are you happy how he's navigating? Like the transfer portal and bringing in players.
Yeah. I
believe
for starters, I did not sign off on the Brian Kelly hire. If you actually really search my social media, it's not hard to find, but I was actually very unhappy with the Brian Kelly hire.
With 2 truths and a lie, that means dunking on Angel Reese and the combine stuff is true, but go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. I dunked on Angel Reese so bad. It was crazy. She's literally still embarrassed. I'm just kidding. It's why she entered the draft. You just needed to get out of bad.
So
gotcha.
At the time of the hiring, who were you hoping that LSU hired instead of Kelly?
If I'm being really honest with you, it was so long. Like, I'm trying to remember.
I know.
It was a good.
I can't even remember what names were floating around there. So
yeah, I'm struggling to remember too. I just remember. You know what? I think the one that I actually really wanted, which in hindsight is grateful, was Dave Aranda. I really liked Dave Aranda. I loved what he did with the defense. This is when he was having some success at Baylor. I was like bring that man home. Let him do it. I did not want Billy Napier. I remember that name coming up a lot. And I was like, I don't
dodge that bullet.
Yeah, thank God.
Is he getting fired this year, by the way? That's a question for later.
Yes.
But keep that in the back of your
mind. Sorry.
I would struggle to think he's not. But yeah. So I remember not wanting Napier. I really wanted Aranda. And then it came out that it was Brian Kelly. And my first immediate reaction was I was angry. I was like, what the actual heck? And I didn't say heck. I called my dad. I was like, "This is bullshit. Like, I hate it here. I want to go home. Like, I'm transferring. I'm in the transfer portal." I was so mad, and it's because he was so easy to hate when he was at Notre Dame. Right. And I, as a person, don't like Notre Dame's program. I don't like their school. I don't like what they stand for. I think they're very elitist and arrogant. And I'm just speaking of people that haven't won anything since Jesus was born. I mean, he looks down on their stadium and they still can't win. So, like, what's that say about them? But I was like, I can't. I can't do it.
She came shooting tonight. The next time I get in an argument with somebody, I'm contacting Dailey Joy. She can help me.
But yeah, I was not happy. But I'm also the kind of person that is like, I'm gonna do some research. So I worked in recruiting at LSU, and so one of my friends worked in recruiting at Notre Dame. So I actually we looked at the recruitment requirements in comparison, and I was like, holy cow, like, no wonder it's so hard for them to recruit to South Bend. Like, their recruiting requirements were insane. Their academic requirements are insane. I don't know if y'all have been to South Bend, Indiana, but just asking a college kid to move there is absolutely insane. And then one of my friends, I went to high school with, Jerry Tillery. He played for Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. He went on to play in the NFL for a few years. So I reached out to him and was like, did you like playing for him? Because you hear this narrative that players didn't like him and he wasn't this great coach and And Jerry's like, I loved him. Like, I thought he was great. And then I was like, okay, I'm still not in love with the hire, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And honestly, at that point in time, Scott Woodward had really earned, I think, our respect and our trust. And so I felt like it was necessary to give Scott Woodward the benefit of the doubt that he knew what he was doing. Also, the fact that you are able to go, whether you like him or you hate him, no one takes coaches from Notre Dame. So the fact that you were able to do that, it was impressive. It was an impressive pull, whether you liked it or not. And so I didn't like it. And am more than happy to admit that I was wrong. I'm not going to go in full-fledged detail on his most recent comments, because I think a lot of it was taken out of context, and people that want to argue about it, I'm like, you saw a 15-second clip on a tweet and you didn't actually go listen to the entire media article, which is how everyone reacts in our world today, which is just fine. But I'm not going to entertain the arguments about it when you aren't willing to do your own homework. And so I appreciate not getting in bidding wars for people. And if I'm being honest with you, it's not like he doesn't know, he went and got Jaden Daniels out of the portal and made him a Heisman winning quarterback. So at this point in time, I feel like he's earned my respect. I don't love what he did with the defense this year, but again,
this was a specific one from Randy.
I'm thinking that D-line is a real problem. I could argue this one, but I think it's only fair to give them, he went in and did a full defensive overhaul. I mean, he had to write a letter to fans and be like, we fired that entire unit. And he brought in the best of the best in every position. So I'm hopeful of what he's going to do, but I'm not mad at him for not getting in bidding wars. People can think what they want to. LSU is not this cream of the crop financial funding tree. We don't have all the resources in the world that people might think we have. And so I'm not mad at him. And I think so far he's given me a pretty, I mean, it's not like he won the SEC in his first year, people. We can pretend it didn't happen, but it did. Or the SEC West. So I'm going to ride with him for a little while.
And I think do you think he's done well in the portal? Kat, you struggling in Porta?
In the portal.
Porta.
One more time, Kat. One more time. But do you think he has done well? And Randy says he would just be for insight on it. And in Randy's defense, I
didn't think you were trying to argue.
Well,
I didn't think you were trying to argue. I just we could go back and forth about whether or not it's a problem or not. When you've had such an overhaul like they have, I'm not at liberty to say. And I think last year, if you were looking at LSU, you were like, Matt House did a phenomenal job with the defense in 2022. So they're going to be great in 2023. And then you saw what happened. Like, they're atrocious. They are moving Harold Perkins back to where he belongs. And I think that's going to be a huge difference maker. And then I just think, like, I think the coaching is only going to be elevated. At the end of the day, I say this all the time, and this will be a hot take, and I don't really care. And I'm saying that mainly for LSU fans. I have said as long as I've known, like, recruiting, anything like that, give me a bunch of 2 or 3 stars that are from Louisiana that were born to wear purple and gold and have, like, loved their whole life to play for LSU. Give me them all day over 5-star recruits from any other state. I don't care. I want the Louisiana boys because it means something to them to put those letters on their chest. Yeah. It's not all about a check for them. And so I'm going to believe that those guys on the defensive side of the ball with the new coaching, elevated coaching that they have are going to be fine this year.
I like it. Raj, did you have one? I'm going to move into looking at next year.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good.
Okay. With Texas and Oklahoma sliding into the SEC this year, where do you feel, does that even affect you, or where do you feel like LSU kind of stands coming into this next year?
It doesn't affect me. You got to earn it, just like we all have. I think Oklahoma's going to have a harder time just based on their schedule. That's not like a dig. It's just a fact. They have a harder schedule. They have to go to some harder places. I think that's the benefit of Texas having started to already, like, I think Texas was honestly really strategic in the way that they'd planned their schedule prior to joining the SEC because they have played LSU and Alabama already. Right.
And so to your point, real quick, to your point, Oklahoma, this is a CBS Sports article, but Oklahoma, they gave the toughest schedule for next year in the SEC. And I think Texas was down to 15.
Keep in mind, Oklahoma has to play us, and then the next week they play at LSU.
Yeah, I mean, they're not getting they're getting they're going to get like baptized by fire, basically. Yeah. Which is why, like, I would have zero issue if Oklahoma fans were just like, hey, we're here, like, our hands are in the air, like, we don't really know what we're getting ourselves into. But it's the cockiness and the arrogance for me, really, when I'm like, you have only ever played each other. Like, y'all don't really play anyone else that's halfway decent, and you still can't win 10 games. So, like, you got some audacity walking up in here in a conference that's proven itself over and over and over again. So I just have zero issue with that. Now, there's a lot of unknowns with LSU. So I think, if I'm being really honest with y'all, the team I'm most scared about in the SEC this year is Ole Miss. I think they've loaded up with talent. And if Lane can't do it this year, if Lane can't do it this year, Lane ain't doing it. And I have a whole nother theory on that, but that's beside the point. I'm scared of them. I think we'll probably be like 4, 5 maybe in the SEC. There's just too many questions. I can't go any higher without knowing what our defense is going to look like. And you won't know about that until the first game of the season.
Right. And that's what you've got coming up here. I didn't realize it was USC. I was that.
Me either. I was just looking at the schedule too, and I was like, wow, that could be a heck of a game.
Yeah. It could be an interesting game. I'm probably still picking LSU, but
of course.
Schedule's not, that bad. And like, same article had y'all ranked, I guess, 14th out of 16th. So I feel like it's one of those, like, you'll be able to feel your way through it and not have any landmines. But you're really saying 4th off the top of your head, like no SEC championship?
I think we could win 10 games, and then I think we could win 8. I think we will know the kind of team we are after the Ole Miss game. So I think going into Ole Miss, you're potentially undefeated. As long as you beat USC and you don't screw up majorly, you're going into Ole Miss undefeated. So it's kind of weird. It almost is going to have the Alabama game feel of if you beat them, then you – and, like, people are going to get mad at me, but I don't really care. So I'm going to count, like, if we were to beat Ole Miss, then you're probably, you would hope, going into Alabama undefeated.
Right.
So then you're like, okay. And then if you beat Alabama, like you could win you might go undefeated the whole way around, but there's just too many question marks for me about our defense to say, like, I think those are potentially probably our only 2 losses. And that's if that's just my own opinion, but.
Right.
So with that being said, do you think LSU makes the 12-team playoff this year?
That's so hard.
You don't even have to make the championship game, so.
Right.
And by the way, this is
okay. I'm going to say no, and here's why: is because we do not know the precedent of the committee with the 12-team playoffs. We understand that there's going to be automatic bids, but outside of that, like, how are they going to set the precedent? Like, are you going to let it be a crap ton of other SEC schools, or are you going to buy into the narrative that these other teams haven't played great schedules, or like their strength of schedule, or like all this BS that we just lie about because it's easier than just like telling everyone the truth, and that's that their schools and conferences just suck. So I think there's a lot of unknowns with the 12-team committee. And I think that I think that I don't even if I'm being really honest with y'all, like even the way that the SEC championship, like how conference championships are going to work now is it's just all so different and so new. So with that, plus the unknowns, I'm just going to say no to be safe. And then if I am wrong, then I'll be more than happy to be wrong.
Hey, you're fine.
Hedging your bet.
I feel like the 12-team playoff is going to be a mixture. Mainly it's going to be comprised of like a lot of SEC teams, Big Ten teams, and then a few we've always thrown out the idea of Notre Dame possibly sneaking in there. I mean, I'm not, I don't have their schedule pulled up, but I guess if they go undefeated without them playing a conference championship game, they'll sneak in somewhere. But who knows what's going to happen.
So over them.
I can only imagine that it's going to be a lot of SEC teams, Big Ten teams, and then we'll see like 10 through 12 what happens there.
I agree. And Randy has said that. So just a couple comments here. Texas play. Oh, yeah. And I think that's what kind of sets this conference apart. People, like, even when you're looking at the schedule and you have like a Texas A&M and Arkansas back to back, you think these aren't the best of teams, but the physicality of those teams, I think, can grind you down.
You just never know. Like, those are 2 of the greatest teams, I think, to use in that example. Like, you don't know which version of them you're going to get. Like, sometimes we play Arkansas, and I'm like, if they played like this every week, they'd be national championship contenders. And then sometimes we play them, and I'm like, are y'all a JV team? Like, suited up? Like, is this Bishop Sycamore 2.0? Like, what's happening? Like, it's just so unknown. Like, there's just I think the struggle with the SEC is that if you are not consistent week in and week out, you will lose a game you're not supposed to lose because that's the grind of the SEC. And it is the best of the best. People don't have to like it, but it's just true.
Yeah, and I think this is true for both our teams. We'd be happy with the playoffs next year for sure. I think you're going to see kind of an end to undefeated teams, especially the way they're packing these conferences in. You're almost getting to a point, though, man. If you're third in your conference and had a good year, missing the championship game isn't the worst thing in the world, unless
not bad.
You feel like you're good enough for that bye. But going to the conference championship game and losing is probably worse than anything else. So,
yeah.
All right. Appreciate that. I did have to ask this. I know we're kind of getting towards the end, and we still have the questions of death to give you, but I had to ask this because I was rooting for LSU 2 years ago when they played, and I was honestly rooting for them again this year. Is it not one of the strangest seasons for a defending champ in women's basketball, and especially the way the season started? Like, I feel like if Zach Edey had won a title at Purdue and then came back the next year and then just started missing games and nobody else knew what was going on, it would have been a huge, huge story. We were just kind of like, we don't know what's going on, and because it was kind of women's basketball, we didn't give it as much pub. But that's an outsider's view. What do you think of somebody who was on the kind of more watching it? Am I just totally off?
I don't think you're totally off. I just think it was a weird year, if I'm being honest. Like it did feel like there is this, I don't know how we got here, and maybe I'm naive. I don't think like, okay, in football, I kind of get it. Like, we are not the nicest fan base. We, like we have a reputation, and some fans tend to uphold that reputation. But I'm sitting here like, guys, we're not a basketball school. Like we haven't been a basketball school since Shaq was there. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. Like, the most y'all talked about us was when our coach was cheating and not winning, and now he's a coach at McNeese. Like, let's just call it what it is. And so I knew when the Kim Mulkey hire happened that she would turn it around pretty quickly.
Right.
But did you think she was gonna? Did you think? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. What's your question?
Did you think she was going to win a championship in year one, though? I thought it was going to take a few years to get there, but she surprised me.
She didn't win in year one. She won in year two.
Was it year one or year two? I thought it was year two. One.
Year two.
My bad.
Right.
My bad.
Regardless,
what did you think?
Regardless,
yeah, I thought it was year one
in year two.
Yeah. Okay.
Year one, I remember like even she like won more games like in like 6 weeks than the whole team had won like the year prior. So like we knew she was capable of turning it around quickly.
Okay.
But I don't think anyone suspected a national championship in year two in any way, shape, or form. But like somehow, some way, and I think teams do tend to take on the personality of their coach. Kim Mulkey is very much a villain, if you want to call it that, in the world of college basketball. People don't like her because she takes no BS, and she's not afraid to like say what she thinks. But ironically, like when she doesn't say what she thinks, then everyone's mad that she didn't say what she thinks. So it's like, what do you want from her? Like she can't win. And her character gets attacked. So then she says something, and then everyone's like, why would you say anything about your character? Like, it's just, they can't win. And so when if she's like that, then your team is going to be like that. And so Angel Reese took on that persona and ran with it. And I get why you maybe wouldn't like her if you were a player or a coach of an opposing team. But also like we said it earlier, like y'all were talking about Caitlin Clark all season long.
Mm-hmm.
And the most Caitlin Clark's name got mentioned was after the national championship last year, which it never would have been mentioned if Angel Reese wasn't in that game.
Yeah. So that was the reason why we talked about it last year, was the Angel Reese name.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Yeah, y'all can hate it all you want to, but it just is what it is. They both, as much as people don't want to admit this, they both have been great for the sport of women's college basketball. And I say it all the time, if like Caitlin Clark could do exactly what Angel Reese does and no one would say anything.
Agreed.
But Angel Reese, because y'all have attached the villain label to her, she is not given that option. But it just was a weird year. I'm excited for the future of LSU women's basketball as long as Kim Mulkey's at the helm. And I'm sure we'll keep being the villain. And I think we're all kind of okay with that at this point.
Agreed. Well said. We're going to rapid fire into these questions so we can get you out of here on time.
Yeah.
And this one, Air Raid had this question too. So this kind of played into the question I was going to ask. If you had to pick, it's a good question. If you had to pick a rival from each of the conferences, including the SEC and then the other Big Fours, and you had to play this team every year, what team are you picking? So SEC, Big 12, Big 10, ACC. Who are you picking to play every year?
Okay. SEC, Auburn. I love playing Auburn. I know it's a hot take on this podcast, but I really enjoy playing Auburn. Let's see. ACC, honestly, I'd probably go Florida State. I think they're on the up and up, and Clemson's kind of on the down and down. And so I am of the opinion that if you were going to play outside of your conference, it sure as hell better make you better. So where a lot of teams would be like, oh, I'm going to play the crappy ones. No, give me Ohio State or Michigan.
I'm taking
like
Vanderbilt and Rutgers.
You always say that, Herb. You want to take the weakest team.
I do.
like yeah, but like that. If I'm gonna do these games, like I want them to make me better. Like
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You
like,
got to be competitive, at least entertaining. But when you're playing Vanderbilt, I mean, our GPA
right.
might
Like
get
when you
increased
get to,
somehow,
if you make it to the college football playoff, playing Vanderbilt ain't gonna have done for you.
Yeah. At least I'm in the playoff. So I'm sorry, but are you taking Ohio State? Was that your Big 12?
Yeah, I'd probably take Ohio State, Florida State, ACC,
Auburn,
SEC, Big 12.
I don't even know who you take from the Big 12. I don't even know who's there anymore. So I can give you a pass on that.
Maybe Oak State. What about Oak State?
Yeah. Nobody moves.
I don't even know who plays in the Big 12.
Yeah, we'll skip that one.
That's why I mentioned Oklahoma State. That's the one team I'm sure.
Go ahead.
Wait, are we considering USC now Big 10? I might play them because then I get to go to California.
There you go. All right, Rod, what you got?
That's the first game.
Who wants to go to Ohio?
All right, so Herb and I play a little game called Work, Play, Live. We do it pretty much every week. So I'm going to give you 3 names. Okay. Out of these 3 names, you got to tell me who you would rather work with, coworker, who you would rather live with, be your neighbor, and somebody you'd rather hang out with on a weekend. Go out to wherever it is that you like to do on the weekends. Okay. I'm going to give you 3 names. Here we go.
Okay.
Les Miles.
Oh, God.
Coach O.
Okay.
And Brian Kelly. Work, play, live. I kind of know who you might want to play with. Like I think I got that one, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm playing with Coach O. I mean, obviously, like that. Just
yeah. So work and live.
I am going to work with Les Miles because if I've done it once, I can do it again. And now I know the kind of person that he is. So I will 100% trap him on his balcony and then push him off of it. And then never have to see him again.
Okay.
Genuinely, his name makes me angry. So yeah, I guess I'm living with Brian Kelly, which I feel like he would never be there. So that would kind of, I'd basically live by myself.
And he's your neighbor though, so you don't necessarily have to live with him. So you are safe.
Oh, even better.
Right. He's your neighbor. Yeah. You'll see him like if you're taking the trash out or whatever the case may be, or something like that. But not living with him. But I like that order. I like that one.
Yeah, Rod, go ahead and give your second one, and we'll go ahead and we'll close it after that.
Second question. Okay, so let's just say somebody approaches you with a large amount of money, and they say they want you to start your own podcast. In order to do this podcast, you have to get 3 ex-LSU football players to join you on your podcast. Which 3 former LSU football players are you getting to join you on your podcast? And what is the name of your podcast?
It would probably be a play on my name just because it's so original. Like I have no idea. I don't know. I would just use my name. That's all I can give you at this. I'm not creative. Like I'm funny, but I'm not creative.
Our podcast is the Herb and Raj podcast, so we don't.
Yeah, that was real creative on our end.
As far as ex players that I would get, Jamarcus Russell. I love him. I love his story. I would love for people, like, if you did not read his article in The Athletic about why he did not succeed in the NFL, then you 100% should. It'll totally change your perspective on him. Tyrann Mathieu for the exact same reason. But like, I love a good comeback story. I am like the biggest proponent of second chances, the biggest proponent of grace. And I love him because he's never turned his back on LSU, even when he probably could have said that we turned our back on him. He just didn't do it. So him and probably Patrick Peterson, just because he's an absolute legend.
Yep.
Okay.
And you got a hoodie man. All right. Last question real quick, and we'll let you get on out of here. LSU makes the national championship game. All right. And you have 2 tickets, 50-yard line. And you have to bring one person from this list. Okay.
Okay.
Herb or Raj?
Not Raj leaning up to the camera, like he's gonna hypnotize me into answering. Honestly, that's tough.
It's not tough.
Which one of you forgot to send me the link in real life?
Wait a minute, that's not fair.
That's not that. Okay. Come on now. We're not gonna throw each other under the bus like that. You can't. Nope. We're deflecting.
Okay, I won't say a name because y'all both know the truth. So whichever one of you didn't send me the link, you're staying at home.
Fine. I'll take the
We're not
loss on this
snitching.
one. I was the one.
No, it was us. It's a team effort. No, it was a team effort. Herb and I both forgot. So.
And air raid.
I would give you both. I would give you both the tickets, and I would just go get a sideline pass because I'm good like that.
Oh wow! Actually, the second answer we've got like that. So there we go. Tell everybody where to find you.
Yep.
At Dailey Joy F on Twitter, and then at the MBG podcast is our podcast. So feel free to check it out. Thanks for having me, guys. This was really fun.
No, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you for joining us.
It was a great show, man. Appreciate you guys. Thank everybody for listening to Herb and Raj podcast. We will see you next week.
Yes, of course.
Everybody have a great night and roll tide.
Roll Tide.